Welcome to the Advancing Entrepreneur. This show is all about surrounding yourself for success. Hear stories of building traction, gaining acceleration, and creating results from successful entrepreneurs who have surrounded themselves with other successful entrepreneurs. And now, here's your host, Annette Nightingale James.
Hello, Advancing Entrepreneurs. Annette James back here with you for another episode of the Advancing Entrepreneurs, getting you traction, acceleration, and results. Today, I am joined by my friend, Trajan King. Hi, Trajan.
Hi, Annette. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing awesome.
Awesome. You're going to have to tell us about that picture behind you because that is really cool looking.
Well, that is a picture of the Flatiron Building in New York. Which is a city I lived in for a couple of years, so I'm a big fan of New York. I love it there, love the energy. So
Great. It's a great photo, makes for a great backdrop. And the people listening to the audio version of this right now are really confused. So if we can start the day like that, we're good. Well, Trajan, let me introduce you to our audience a little bit here. Trajan King is a serial entrepreneur, and his newest project includes the Invincible Entrepreneurs, which includes video training to help us fellow entrepreneurs become successful in our ventures. Trajan, I want you to tell us a little bit more.
Okay, well, I've done about 15 or more startups. I've done startups in the tech field since about 1995. I did my first startup in college and have done them ever since. I run a company called Exact Conversion right now. I'm the CEO of, and we do conversion optimization for e-commerce. And my latest project is a video training site that has courses and content and networking for entrepreneurs and startups called InvincibleStartup.com. And that's a site where I created a community where people that are involved in starting something can get tutorials and learn how to do it, get their questions answered, and also network with people who have already done it before. I'm a big believer in mentorship and masterminds and associating with people that have already walked the path and that have done it before.
Sure, kind of shortcutting the success there, right?
Right, yeah. I was lucky enough early in my career to have a few really good mentors that helped me a lot. And I think that's probably one of the most important things when having a business, whether you're starting it or whether you're making millions, is to have a mentor or a coach or a mastermind that can help you.
For everybody. So we'll talk more about what led you into having your own set of advancing entrepreneurs around you and supporting you. But right now, I want you to share with our audience, what is it that drives you every day? We all know that having a business or starting a business or continuing to grow a business can be challenging, and there's a lot of roadblocks come up. So what drives you every day to continue on?
I love the process of creating something. I view it kind of like being an artist, that you're creating something on a canvas, or an architect designing a building. Building a business is much the same way, that an architect or a builder can design or build a building and then stand back and look at that, and even years later, as he's driving by or she's driving by a building that was designed and built by him or her, there's a lot of satisfaction and pride in that craftsmanship. And I think a business is the same way. I get a lot of satisfaction out of building a business. So that's what drives me, is this desire to create something of value that somebody will value enough to pay for.
So very cool. Trajan, take us back to what led you to the businesses that you're working on now. And I want you to kind of share with our audience what about getting into business and being in business is different than what you expected it to be. There's a lot of people out there working on a business, and they might be feeling a little discouraged right now or not sure how to overcome a roadblock. So I want them to know that we kind of all go through that. So tell us about a time in your business when you were kind of up against a wall and you weren't really sure which way to head.
Oh, that's a deep question. But there are a lot of times in our business when we're up against a wall. Some walls are bigger than others. I've been up against a wall in several businesses where they weren't making as much money as they should have, and I put a lot of money into them. So I've become a big believer in the lean startup and starting a business for the least amount of money possible. because in my own experience, and I've seen this with other businesses that I work with, we spend a lot of time and money starting a business and launching it without knowing if anybody's going to care or if anybody's going to pay for it. And I've been up against a wall in that I've spent a lot of money on marketing and a lot of time, then launched it, and nothing has happened. Nobody cared because my marketing was wrong, or I built the wrong product. I didn't solve a problem that was painful enough for people to care enough to pay for it. And I got myself into a lot of debt in one of my first startups. And that took a lot of motivation to have the willingness and the energy to climb out of that, because it can be very discouraging. It can be done, but it's very discouraging. So one of the things I learned from that startup was to start very small and to launch something, even if it's small and imperfect, get it out in the marketplace and validate the idea. We all began our business with a set of hypotheses or assumptions, and we need to test those as soon as possible, whether or not we're on the right track. So the sooner we can test those, the more quickly we'll be able to validate that idea and know if we're on the right track and whether we need to change courses. And that going forward will help any of us to not get ourselves painted into a corner up against the wall, having spent a lot of money, because the money can go very quickly and our time can go even faster, and we can end up not having the right thing to sell to clients.
I love that you shared that with us. I love that. So basically just like go get your proof of concept and then build from there.
Sure, yeah, it reminds me of the old movie Field of Dreams, the famous quote, "If you build it, they will come." For business, I think it's totally the inverse. It's if they come, then you build it. So focus on getting people to come, build your audience, build your email list, find out if people want what you're building and if it solves a problem. And then after you get some traction there, then build it. And that saves a lot of time and a lot of money.
I love that. So during these times when you were building your businesses and maybe some of them were working out and some of them weren't, was there a particular time when you started maybe going to live conferences or mastermind groups or surrounding yourself with other entrepreneurs? Can you take us was there anything specific that made you say, okay, I have to kind of reach outside of what I'm doing now and I have to, get into a new space?
Yeah, there was a time in my career a few years ago where I was hired to be CEO of a company. It was a turnaround company, which I've done a few times, where they brought me in to help grow the company, pay off their debts, and help turn it around. And I did that, and I did it for a couple of years. But during that process where I was running the company, I was so focused on just that one company that I wasn't networking, I wasn't doing masterminds, I wasn't really trying to grow myself. And when I left that company, I found that I didn't really have any kind of system around me. I didn't have people to talk to or mentors, or I wasn't growing. So I spent most of my time just doing that. My number one goal was go to everything, network and meet people and call people. And I had this project that was just for me where I would call somebody that I wanted to get to know, that I admired, whether it was an expert marketer or a CEO of a big company, and I would just call them on the phone and say, "Hey, I like what you're doing. I admire your company. Can I take you to lunch next week? I'm not trying to sell you anything. I don't want anything. I just want to learn from you and ask you some questions." And 100% of the people that I called met me for lunch. And that was a really good lesson for me, that people want to share, no matter how successful they are, that they're willing to sit down and just teach you if you're willing to be open to learning. And I learned a lot from those people, and some of them became really good friends and contacts that I was able to work with later on down the road. But it all started with me just being able to sit down and listen. And I think we have to be willing to learn no matter how successful we are. I went from being a CEO to a company to being somebody who was sitting in coffee shops just listening to other CEOs, because I don't know everything, and neither do any of us. There's always somebody that's doing something greater than we are that we can learn from.
Wow. Were you surprised at kind of how easy it was to get people to say yes to that? That's remarkable.
Yeah, I was really surprised. At first, I thought, okay, I'm just going to make some phone calls and send out a bunch of emails, and maybe I'll get 10% of the people responding. But everybody responded, and everybody was very, very open. So I kind of kept going up the food chain. Start with somebody who has a small business, and then eventually I was meeting with people who were working or CEOs of large businesses. They were a little bit more difficult to schedule, but they were totally willing to sit down with me and talk, which I was really surprised by.
That's amazing. I've been being more connected lately into, who is really important. Somebody mentioned I think it was a podcast probably that I was listening to, they were talking about that is literally the one thing that nobody can ever take away from you is who you, like your network. So if you invest in building your network, it can be, like you found, a return on investment that's well worth it because you can do business with them or they can refer you to something or something like that. So I love that. I love that you shared that with us. So during your time, maybe taking these people out to lunch or as you started surrounding yourself again with the mastermind groups and stuff, what was kind of a pivoting point? You went from being a CEO back to being an entrepreneur. What did you kind of have a light bulb moment? Were you in a hot seat or on an accountability call that you were like, oh, this is the next step for me. This is what I want to do. I just want to demonstrate for our audience how surrounding yourself and putting yourself in that space of being around other entrepreneurs can lead to great ideas.
Yeah, I think one of the best benefits from doing all of the activities, networking and talking to people is not only do you have maybe one big idea, but it's a series of constant ideas. Because you're getting second opinions from people and they're looking at your stuff and giving you ideas and you're giving back. So that's the value is it's a constant stream of ideas and getting outside of your own head because we get so involved in what we're working on, sitting at the computer and working on our project and we fall in love with it and it becomes our creation and then we show it to somebody else and they might say, your baby's ugly. Nobody thinks about your baby like you do, but we need that. We need the second opinion and the brainstorming and the ideas to know what other people think because ultimately it doesn't matter what we think about our company or our project. It's what our customers think or our potential partners or anybody that we're going to do business with. Those are the opinions that matter. So the sooner that we can go out and get those opinions and get that feedback, the better, the faster it validates our product, but also it gives us ideas on what other things we might be able to do. So a specific example would be one of the companies that I'm working with now, Exact Conversion, that I mentioned I'm the CEO of. We actually started as a shopping cart company that all we did was shopping carts. And the more we got talking to our customers and the more I networked with other people and sat down with my business partners and people in mastermind groups, the more we realized that the real need in the marketplace that people selling online and e-commerce had was converting more of their traffic. So our shopping cart helped people pay once they got to that, and we heard over and over again that we need more sales from the traffic that we're getting. Everybody else is focusing on SEO, so they're focused on getting people to the website. But once they're to the website, now what? Now we need more people. If I have 1 million people coming to the website and 4 of them are buying, that's a conversion problem. So the whole company of Exact Conversion came out of that feedback that we got from masterminds and from our customers, and we ended up selling the piece of the business that was the shopping cart and focusing on a particular problem that we could solve for people.
I love that, niching down. So besides Exact Conversions and of course the Invincible Startup, right? Which I love that name. Is there any current projects or anything that you're working on right now that you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, I'm working on another company called collectwithkindness.com, which came out of a similar conversation with my brother. My brother actually started it, and he's an attorney. He's a mediator, and he would work with clients that would send their customers to collections. And sending your customers to collections is always a terrible position to be in where you burn the relationship. So certain industries like attorneys or dentists, they want to keep those relationships but need to get paid. So if you're a dentist and you send your customers to collections, they're never going to come back. if you're an attorney and you send customers to collections, they'll report you to the bar because people just get angry. So he developed with me a process where they could do collections a little bit kinder and keep the relationship. So there's a whole process around that. So that was kind of something that came out of discussions with, again, with clients on what their needs are. And I'm a big believer in when you're developing a product or a company, first find a specific problem that needs to be solved, a high pain point that you can solve for people. So in this case, it was dentists and attorneys and professionals that wanted to keep their clients, but also needed to get them paid or get them to pay. So they needed to have a process that could achieve both of those at the same time. And so we developed a product and a company around that because that was a pain point that they were willing to pay for.
And just to let our audience know a little bit, is that like, that seems ingenious to me. Is it taking off?
It is, yeah. People are really liking it because the process is different than a regular collections company where people are just calling on the phone and saying, give us some money or we're going to shut off your power, or give us some money or you can never come back again. And it's really taking off because clients like to be treated like real people. They want to be treated like a valued client, and everybody gets behind on the bill sometimes, or isn't able to pay, or just doesn't have time. Everybody has a reason, and they want to be treated like valued customers. So that process is taking off because people like that kind of touch. They don't like being treated like a deadbeat.
Yeah, I think I'm totally enthralled with this idea. I think that's fabulous. I know I've had bills and customers I haven't been able to collect from, and I literally just let the bill go. I just never collected on it because I wasn't willing to continue to push on that relationship, or I wasn't willing to send it out to a formal collection agency because I did have that fear around the relationship and wanting to. So instead, I worked more on the upfront process of making agreements and things like that, and prepayments and stuff like that. But I think that's a fabulous idea. And if our audience wants to go to iamadvancing.com and type Trajan into our search bar, your show notes page is going to come up, and we are going to link to all these things that we've been talking about today, and they can learn more about you and your business. Trajan, we are going to let our audience get to know you a little bit more here. We're going to do a little bit of a speed round called Playing Favorites.
Okay, I'm nervous. It sounds exciting.
Who is your favorite child? No. Just kidding. What is your favorite charity?
My favorite charity, there are a lot. I really like the charity Water for a couple of reasons. And I think it's charitywater.org for a couple of reasons. One, they make the donation process really easy. So, and a really high amount of the money that you donate actually goes toward building out water systems in Africa. And I think that's something that I look for in a charity, is a huge percentage of money actually going to the project and not taken off the top of the administration fees. So those are two things I really like about them, Charity Water.
Yep, I agree with you on the admin fees. That's great. What is your favorite quote?
One of my favorite quotes is by Oprah, and it's "Why not me?" And I think we have to put that into context. And she explains that when you look around and see successful people, sometimes we have the tendency to be jealous or to think that we could never do that. And she asked herself, well, they're doing that, so why couldn't I? Why not me? Why can't I be the person that is doing X, Y, Z? And that I love that quote because it instills confidence in ourselves that we don't have that self-doubt or the self-deprecation or the things that hold us back if we have the attitude that, well, why can I do it? If they're doing that, why can't I do something similar?
I love that. That's a good one. Trajan, share with us, what is your favorite discovery? Do you have an app or a resource that you're using in your business?
I am. One of my favorite apps right now is called Lyft, L-A-F-T. Not Lyft, the Uber type company, but L-A-F-T. And it's an app that helps you form habits. So you put in the daily tasks you want to do, and then it'll keep track, and you'll check in, and every day after you've done that task, you mark it completed, and it'll help you track how many days in a row you do it, and your friends can help support you. I'm a big believer in developing habits over time, and those habits help you create your personality and help you get things done. So if we do things every day, then that slowly builds on each other and helps you build toward a goal. And that app, I think, really helps with that.
Oh, very cool. Tell us, Trajan, what is your favorite song? Do you have a song that you use to get pumped up?
Getting jiggy with it.
Love it.
It's kind of an old song, but it's so fun.
And so it's important to have fun and an upbeat tune, right? Get your juices flowing a little bit.
Yeah.
So that.
Would you like to sing for us your favorite song?
So no, see, I'm the host. I get to make my guests sing. In fact, I don't know why, but I was joking around with somebody a couple episodes ago. This was tripping people up for some reason. Like the first several episodes, you guys can listen. The people didn't know how to enter the song, and I'm like, if you don't have a song for me, like I'm gonna make you sing it. You know, like you're gonna have to just choose one.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm glad that I answered quickly then. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, I don't want to drive any listeners away. So you were talking about being artistic before with like creating a business, like being an artist. It's a good thing that I can create businesses because I can't draw or sing anything. I don't have an artistic bone in my body. But tell us, what is your favorite business book?
The Art of War. Maybe it's not considered a traditional business book by Sun Tzu. It's about 2,600 years old. And it's about negotiation and working with people and building relationships. So I think it's entertaining to read also, but the context, it has a lot of lessons about what you should do in certain situations, like being prepared and when to collaborate and when to fight and when to work with people and when to engage. So it's a really compelling book, I think. And I like the historical aspect of it as well.
Well, sounds like a business book to me, all about strategy. Very good. Well, see, there you go. That wasn't painful, right? Too painful? You survived the playing favorites round just fine. Didn't have to sing or anything.
Could have been worse.
Trajan, I want you to share one piece of advice with our audience that you as yourself today would give the version of yourself that was first getting into business and first getting started. Then we want to know where we can find you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Okay. We've talked about this a little bit, but I would say tell myself or anybody now, when you're starting a business or building a product, go through a very specific short process where you can, number one, identify a very painful problem that somebody has, not just inventing something cool or developing a product that you think is nice. It has to solve a problem that is a pain point that people will pay for. And then develop a solution, secondly, as quickly as possible, and then launch it into the marketplace. And if I would have just done those two things and gotten feedback from solving a problem quickly, in my first few startups, I would have saved myself a lot of problems and a lot of headache just by starting simple. Just taking that first step and doing a little bit each day and getting it out there and getting feedback and improving it as you go. I think is a lot more, get you off the ground more quickly, and it's a lot less work and it's a lot less headache. It's less daunting. Every journey starts with one step. And just taking that one step and getting started right away. Do something today. Don't have that idea. Everybody has that friend who has that brilliant idea that they've been talking about for years. Don't be that friend. Do your project, do the idea that you have in your head. Do it today.
So very cool, and a recurring theme that we hear in that piece of advice. Trajan, tell our audience where they can connect with you.
Sure, I'd love to hear from people. You can find me at Twitter at Trajan King, and my name is spelled TrajanKing, or at invinciblestartup.com.
Oh, very cool. Trajan, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today and share with our audience your journey and what you're working on now. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Annette. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Advancing Entrepreneur. If you enjoyed it, leave us a rating and review. Not only will it make our day, you'll also be helping others find this show and advance their own careers. Once you're done, be sure to head on over to iamadvancing.com and join our community to learn what it takes to be an advancing entrepreneur and surround yourself for success. Thanks again, and get ready to advance.